Hello everyone, this is Abdul. I am a PhD student from the University of Texas at El Paso. The work that I am going to present today is a collaborative work between the University of Texas and US Army Corps of Engineers. In this work, we try to embed entity-entity relationships in a distributed representation of entities. So, at first I am going to give you a little bit of context of the Outbreak, because this is our baseline method that we compared with. So, Outbreak is the state of the art word embedding model, and it is very popular now. It takes a text corpus as input and produce set of vectors. A context window determines how many words before and after a given word would be included as a context of the given word. Let us analyze a few news articles that we worked on. So, the first case we see Beijing and China. So, Beijing would be context of China and China would be context of Beijing, and Outbreak will perform very well because those two words are in the same sentence. And usually in the news articles we see that the capital and the country they always in the same sentence. However, the second case we see two entities, World Health Organization and WHO, they are in the different sentences. So, it will be difficult for Outbreak to get the context of WHO as World Health Organization. So, this is case number 3, where we are interested for finding some relation like flood and cholera outbreak. There is a strong relationship between cholera outbreak and flood. Usually, cholera outbreak happens after massive flood or a storm. So, this is one of the articles that talks about cholera outbreak and in Haiti, and this article contains cholera outbreak entities, but it does not contain flood or a storm. So, Outbreak won't get trained for this kind of relationships. So, here is the first research question: how to incorporate relationship beyond analogy, this kind of relationships information in the vector of entities. In this slide we see 3 relationship graphs that shows 3 different geographical contexts for entity Obama. So, for the relationship graph for a document published in 2010, the geographical context revealed that President Obama was concentrated on Afghanistan. For a document published in 2012, the geographical context says it focuses on Russia for a particular document. Similarly, for a document published in 2014, we see the geographical context is related to Middle East. So, that implies that geographical context and the time is also important for any entity. So, the research question number 2 is how can the geographical context and time be incorporated in entity embeddings? Let us see the architecture of the proposed solution to the research problem. So, in the left side is the architecture for candidate generation process. So, at first we calculate we find a set of nearest neighbor document for a given document D0, which is in the first row in the slide, and now for each document from the first row we find another set of documents that satisfy 3 constraints. First constraint is topical constraint, second is time constraint, third is the geographical constraint. Now, our task is to find the set of documents in the orange box, that is NP-hard problem now, but what should be our objective to find the document in the orange box? Let us see an example. In the right side, the first 4 document first row is the nearest neighbor documents, and they all talk about cholera outbreak. Now, the selected set of documents is in the bottom row. It talks about a storm, some landslides, sometimes earthquake, but there is a strong evidence that the cholera and storm are related, because it appears in all the 4 cases. So, the objective should be to maximize this kind of evidence. So, we will get the set of documents. So, the first equation is actually giving us the set of documents for the orange box, and the second equation is normalized mutual relationship score that actually helps to maximize the evidence. Now, let us see why do we care about topical and time constraint at all. So, this plot suggests that as the time goes, the topic evolves far away from the original. In other words, topically similar documents tend to appear in temporal proximity. So far we extracted the relations. Now we are going to create the vectors of the relations. So this is one of the example of relation. Center for Disease Control and Prevention is related to CDC. It's pretty obvious. It's kind of acronym abbreviation of the organization. We will get this kind of relations, then we will feed the neural network like the orthobag. So the first part of the relation will be input of the neural network, and the second part would be the output of the neural network. And whenever we will feed all the relations, it will get trained, and we will get the vector from the column of the second matrix in the right side. And the second approach we utilize the relationship graph that we presented for President Obama example, and we will apply the dimensional reduction like PCA to get the vectors. Now let us see the how good is our approaches. So we have 2 approaches, one is PCA based, another is the neural network based. So PCA based in color blue, and neural network based in orange color, and the baseline method in orthobag is red color. At first we tried to evaluate using the clustering. So we cluster all the entities, vector of the entities, then we use Similarity coefficient and Dunn index to evaluate the quality of the cluster. And for the Similarity coefficient case, we see that our method are outperforming the baseline, but for the Dunn index, the PCA based method is not that good, but neural network based method is working perfect. Now, this is the second experiment where we use the original orthopeg analogous odd pair data set as a ground truth. So in the left side, we see that our method are performing way better than orthopeg for the similarity purpose. And another interesting point is, whenever the dimension of the vector is large, the neural network based approach is better than PCA based method. Let us see some example of similarity, odd pair similarity. In the right side, we presented a few analogous odd and few unrelated pair of odds and their similarity score. So let us pick Burma and Myanmar. Burma is actually the former name of Myanmar, country Myanmar. So they should be similar because they are the same country. So our 2 method approaches, they are returning very high score, similarity score compared to the orthopeg. So orthopeg is 0.64, but our method, our machine neural network based method is 0.99, and also PCA based is 0.84. Now let us pick some unrelated pair of odds, Republican and Obama. We all know that President Obama is not Republican, so the score should be as low as possible. So our approaches returning like negative and 0.09, whereas the orthopeg is giving 0.3. So in this case also our method is doing good. So this is the third experiment that where we use the 20 news group data set to classify document using the vector that we are generating. We presented FS score, accuracy and ROC curve. It shows that our method are classifying are good for classifying document as well. So as a next step, we are interested to find causal relationship and lineage, and we will work for an efficient alternative to the optimizer that we are using. we will apply it to other domains like scholarly data literature, and also we will try for the time dependent distributed representation. Thank you.